stir it up and do things our way. So if you wanna move, get out of our way.
Hey, welcome to PCP, and guess what this episode's about? The pasta.
It is about the pasta. Abso-freaking-lutely. But not about those two characters, at least.
I mean, there was plenty to go around on that show, but if you guys didn't check social media, TMZ, page 6, you're about to have your mind blown. Today, Jax Taylor finally admitted. Oh, our mind, we're just so shocked. He finally admitted he has a cocaine issue.
Oh my gosh.
I know you guys are like, oh my God, what? I turned to him as a pillar of... I guess we should break this down real quick. So, I mean, just if you guys have been living under a rock and not the kind that Jax was chopping up for the past 20 years, he admitted on Alex Baskin's podcast, Alex Baskin, the producer of Pump Rules, Beverly Hills, all our favorites, the Hot Mic podcast with Bravo. He finally came clean. He's been doing blow for about 20 years.
I mean, it's no surprise. It's no surprise whatsoever, because even before he came to LA, he lived in Miami and was a model. So it's like the man's been in it for a very long time. And look, we make a lot of jokes about cocaine here on PCP. You know, and it is ubiquitous with Hollywood, but you know what? It's ubiquitous with finance as well. It's ubiquitous with a lot of different industries. So, but the fact of the matter is that this fucking guy, he's acting as if he's the first one to ever have a cocaine addiction, or to discover addiction, or to discover rehab, or like he hasn't been gaslighting his fucking wife and all of his friends for forever. I mean, it's in trying to do it to us. I ended up listening to the entire podcast.
I was pretty shocked when the segment opened where he's because he's leading up to this big reveal that he has a cocaine problem. I didn't know that's a reveal. The moment he came on camera, season 1 of Vanderpump Rules, we knew he had a cocaine. I mean, there was no. So he's talking to Alex Baskin, and he's just like, I'm coming out. I was like, wait, where's this going? Because coke was a given in my head. I'm like, oh my God, was the Miami porn gigolo thing real? And he's like, he has a cocaine problem. And I'm like, and I breathe oxygen. Where's the news, Jax?
Oh, he was so hard to listen to. Well, we all know that why he's doing this, to keep his freaking job on the Valley. That's why he's doing this. That's why he's doing all of this. First of all, it's a let me try to get ahead of the story, because I'm going to look really terrible on this season of the Valley, which is coming out soon, like in the next month or so. I was trying to find the date, and then. So let me try to get ahead of that. So then the discourse is, Jax is really sorry. Jax has already gone to rehab twice. Bitch, the second time you went for 17 days? Excuse me, sir.
Wait. And can we talk about a detail I caught in him describing his second stint in rehab, where he said...
I'm sure it's the same one I want to talk about too.
Where he says he and Brittany, wait, how did he put it? Oh, this is right. For his second trip to rehab, what happened is, I guess Brittany and him are separated. They were in the car, the phones connect or something. And another guy contacted Brittany. He sees it on the computer, not the computer screen, the in-dash. Anyways, and that he says that's what triggered him and started a spiral where he ended up needing to go back. But then he also slips, because he's a horrible liar. He also slips and mentioned, well, he was angry at her because he had done coke the night before he found out she was with another guy. So that didn't trigger him. I mean, he was just happened to be on coke. Yeah.
Well, for me, it's two things. He tells that story. In my head, it was that meme of Madeline Kahn in Clue of like flames on the side of my face, flames. Because first of all,
Mhm.
like exactly what you just said. But it was the fact of like the only reason he stopped was because his son was in the car, and he realized that. And I was like, that's
Yeah.
really nice and everything, but you should stop, period. You shouldn't rage on people like that, period. You shouldn't do that to your wife, who you have chosen to marry and to say that you're going to love and cherish and whatever your vows were. No. And then the fact is, later on, he talks about how he would hold all he's got an anger issue too. And so he would hold all his anger in
Oh
during the
my god.
day. And then when he would come home, he would take it out on Brittany because she was the one there. And he acts like he's so sorry about it. And I go, no, sir, you are an abusive person then. Because that's what abusers
Yeah.
do. Because you can control it around other people, but the only person you take it out on is your wife. So you're
Right. I
abusive.
caught that. Yeah, that was straight up, that had nothing to do with the drugs. He was saving
Mm-mm.
it up, like you said, like those guys who are the charmers at the office and they come
Mm-hmm.
home, pound 4 martinis for dinner and beat their wife.
Yeah, but they were gonna beat their wife anyway. It just becomes the excuse and makes it easier for them to. And we're not
Yeah.
alleging that Jax got physical with Brittany, but I think what we all have seen is that he is emotionally and verbally abusive to her. I will stand 10 toes down that
Mhm.
that is what I see when I watch them on camera, is that he is emotionally abusive to her and verbally abusive to her. And I highly recommend that people read this book. It's called Why Does He Do That by Lundy Bancroft. And it's about it's him having run men's groups and been a therapist for men who commit DV, and like it's like basically his
Mhm.
like 30 years of knowledge about it, and it is insane. It's like eye-opening, and I was just like, that's Jax Taylor. That is Jax Taylor to a T, because they can control it. It's all about control. He wants control over her. He can't control whatever things are going on in himself. And just like you said, like he lies, he also contradicts himself
R
entirely, because at one point he's calling it a disease at the very beginning, that he's got this disease and it's a disease and it's a disease. And then about less than 5 minutes later, he starts talking about how he's doing therapy and everything. And he says, this isn't really, this is something that like, it's something wrong, it's something that's wrong with you inside psychologically, and so then you drink or you do drugs to like let it go away, so it's just an excuse. So he basically says at one point it's a disease, it's pathological, and then he says no, it's an excuse for what I'm doing for my psychological issues. So I'm trying to push down my feelings, and so I use cocaine and alcohol to do that. I was like, well, which one is it, buddy? Which one is it? Because he
Yeah.
also said he said that they're lazy, basically, who say that they're addicted to it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, he was trying to play both angles where he's taking full responsibility, but all I don't know, not
But none.
co-blame? At some points, it's the substance, sometimes it's him, but in the end, it's just but
Everybody and everything else.
Brittany isn't buying it.
No, thank
Brittany,
God.
or I should say I will say Brittany's publicist wrote this. It's too well written. No offense, Brittany, it's on point. But what she said is in her she released 2 statements today, but she's not accepting either of them. And she said, I've tried desperately to help him out. I've tried desperately to help him without success. I pray that one day he completely knocks the addiction, but I'm skeptical. His behaviors are still alarming, and his treatment plan seems to be the bare minimum.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. Well, look, I mean, he admits that he went back for 17 days, and he was like, then I was fine. It was almost like he just needed like when you go and have Botox and then you go back 2 weeks later to have a little refresher. It's like, I just needed a little refresher of rehab. He was like, because it didn't work. It didn't stick that time. It was like, well, then you need to go longer, dude. You need to go longer
mhm.
to rehab. He also was
Yeah.
talking about, and again, this comes back to him like being a narcissist as well, is that he talks about how he was there and he was like, he took over the groups, he was like being a mentor to people, he was really digging it. I was like, yeah, you were really digging everybody like loving on you. And he talked about how he had so much to lose and the other people didn't. And I was like, how the fuck do you know? You probably didn't listen to anything they said. You probably talked all over them the entire time. Like I'm talking all over you. You didn't get that. That took you a second.
See, I don't have too much to say because I've never been around. I've never
you didn't
done
hear
any of
that.
this stuff. It's all foreign to me, just so you know. Hear what?
What, rehab?
I'm just I'm just letting you guys know. No, things like today's my first day about hearing of cocaine. I've never ever. I had to Google it. I didn't even know when I saw the headline.
I love how many of our OG listeners right now are laughing their asses off hearing that Jax Taylor-ish lie come from your mouth.
I had to Google it. I don't know. It was something new to me. Thank you, Wikipedia. But no, a couple of things too. I'm really interested in how he's navigating this because we, the audience, always knew. Like I said, it was a given. Clearly, he is not the only one on that show. Coke use, Adderall use, it has all been an ongoing discussion. He's had the multiple nose jobs, or even Lisa Vanderpump said it's not because of his septum. She knew. But he's very careful in how he words it because he's being interviewed with Alex Baskin, his supreme boss. It's not Vanderpump. It's did I say Alex Baskin?
Yeah.
Or Andy Cohen, because I guess okay, their names flow for me. I was like, did I just say Alex Cohen? Sorry about that, guys. Alex Baskin is the executive, EP of the show. He's being interviewed by him, and he's very careful to say, on one hand, well, he wasn't successfully hiding the problem for years. Everyone knew, but he was lying. But then he claims in opening, the cast and crew never knew about his problem. I'm winking here, you guys. Yeah, I'm like dying when he said the cast and crew never knew. He did it privately. Obviously, because he can't implicate production, the network, Alex Baskin. Yeah. So this wasn't a surprise to the producer interviewing him. This was I'm sure his publicist was off camera, as well as Bravo's.
Well, and he said something later on, which you wouldn't have heard, was that like basically he was trying to almost throw the entire cast under the bus, saying we all did cocaine back in those SUR days, like we were all doing it, and we all drank. We weren't allowed to drink during production, like while we were filming. But when you guys gave us a break, like he said he would, like, Stassi and Kristen had flasks, or we would go down to Tortilla Republic and we would grab some drinks, while you guys, like, because they weren't supposed to drink while they were filming, but then they would drink while they were filming because they were. And so he, like, tries to throw the rest of the cast under the table and is like, well, but you're the one with the problem. Like, although who knows? We're not Sandoval. Anyway, but it just, I mean, he's masterful in the fact that he barely tells part of the truth, and then he embellishes or lies about all the rest to try to get himself to take the heat off of himself.
You just mentioned Sandoval, which is something that popped into my head when this came out this morning, because this week is the 2-year anniversary of Scandoval breaking. The story that launched these people into a new orbit as their show is fading. And I'm like,
Yep.
is it coincidental that is this just the official week annually where we get some news, some like bomb dropped? I mean, it was like, I do have a question though.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Brittany's involvement in all of this
What,
over the
in
years?
cocaine?
With
Just
whatever.
using.
now I'm speaking carefully. I don't want to get in trouble. I just want to say again with his wordplay,
Mm-hmm.
where he caught himself at one point and said he said we only got in shouting matches when we were coming down. He's talking about the day
Mm-hmm.
after using coke, and it's like a hangover, I suppose, or whatever. But
I think it's one
then
of
he
those things.
backtracked and made sure to imply it was only
Well, I think it's kind of both. I
Mm.
think it's probably true, at least maybe before they had a child. But I also think that he
Yeah.
did that on purpose to fuck with her and to have to let these
Mm.
conversations happen, like on podcasts and with content creators and things like that, because he's throwing her under the bus almost this entire time. He's talking about how he feels so bad in some ways about how he treated her, but then he talks about how now with this divorce he's walking on eggshells. He talks about how she hooked up with a friend of his just a few weeks after they broke up. But yeah, no, he knows that he hooked up with Faith, who was Brittany's friend, and he hooked up with Kristen, who was, Sandoval's. He's like, I got jaxed, but at the same time, it's all this double talk. I'll admit to what I did, but people have done it now to me, and I feel horrible. So feel bad for me now.
Mhm.
Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. Okay, fine. Look, you just threw the entire cast under the bus, but the entire cast hasn't gone to rehab, and neither has your wife or ex-wife. So stop it. Stop it. Obviously, it didn't stick because you're not taking accountability.
Yeah. I was like, 'cause I was like, I'm not accusing her of anything right now. What caught my eye with that, or my mind, is that it did annoy me now how last we came onto the Valley this past season where he was gaslighting all of us.
Mm-hmm.
The season is about him trying to paint Brittany as an alcoholic.
Yep.
And I'm like, you were on the
And nobody was
verge of
buying it.
you're admitting at that point. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was really like, for anyone to accuse anyone of addiction. Jax Taylor, that's why I keep going back to, how is this news to anyone? In that it was just like a base assumption. When you see Jax, you knew.
Mm-hmm.
And so for him to be calling, well, that's what he did, deflecting. I do think,
Yeah.
no, I don't know. I have no idea where Brittany went or stands or what her past is, but maybe she's grown up with a kid.
That's what I think.
Having a kid has, yeah.
Yeah, and also look, I firmly I embrace people experimenting. That's fine. And like you move out here and a lot of times, you do stuff. You try things out because you're like, especially I'm sorry, if you come from like Kentucky and you've been sheltered and you're like none of this stuff and you're like, "Oh my god, I'm in LA. Let me like try living the life."
And,
And you try it. That's fine. I get it. And also if you're with a boyfriend who is like doing it all the time, you're gonna, at least at the beginning, you're gonna try to pacify him.
and let's not forget too, she didn't just move to LA from a small town in Kentucky. She moved right into prime LA reality TV.
Mhm. Yeah, she did.
Yeah. I'm not accusing her of any. Yeah. I'm just thinking about, like, I would like to know, in their relationship, at some point they split off. As we know, they split up, but at some point he kept partying, and I'm just curious, like, when she slowed down. But she
To
said she'll be doing an episode release later this week of her own show, and maybe I doubt she'll tell us, because I think this is going to cause
Yeah,
custody issues
exactly.
as
And
they
so I don't
hash it
really
out.
feel like we should like talk about it. I know you want
Oh,
that
no,
other
not
side.
us. No. What I'm saying is Jax's admissions and what he's going through
Mhm.
gives her leverage to
Mhm.
retain primary custody of their son Cruz. She's going to do an episode this week, which, based on that statement I read to you guys from her, crafted by a publicist, and that she said in that same statement that she's releasing her clapback this week on her podcast. I don't think she'll be implicating herself. I'm just saying, I don't know. Each their I don't want to get sued, so
I think
no.
yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Ugh. Oh, there was one other thing. He said he was bipolar. He's like, "Oh, they figured out I'm bipolar." And I was
Yeah.
like, "The fuck you are." I'm sorry. This is the Tamra Judge. I'm autistic thing
Oh,
to me.
I
I was like, "No, you're not. You're an asshole."
well, I did look up what he said. He's bipolar too, so I looked up some of
Mhm.
those. I guess you call them symptoms, and it's like, the mood swings, anxiety, whatever. The one things I got where I was like, oh, that could be Jaxish, is the impulsive behavior, the manic highs. There's one that rapid frenzied speaking, and then wait, where's one? Don't give me 2 seconds. Where they seek out sex with people they normally wouldn't sleep with. I was like, this
You
just
know,
kind of sounds like Jack's on any cast trip, Jack's on any.
it also just sounds like the symptoms of cocaine.
Mm,
Like,
yeah,
and he
that's
was
true.
on that. So I'm like, if
Yeah.
this was somebody who was
I
doing that
mean,
and they
that
didn't take cocaine, I'd be like, "Oh, well, you probably are bipolar." But I was like, "Oh, dude, you're on cocaine all the time? Well,
yeah.
maybe let's see." I'm not saying he's
Yeah,
not,
some
but
of
I am saying he's not.
the manic symptoms do hit a little close to Jax's home. People might spend money they don't have, seek out sex with people they normally wouldn't, and engage in other impulsive or risky behaviors without thought to the potential for consequences. So it's like, yeah, that's just, if I read that, I would think more Jax than a medical diagnosis. That's just Jack. That's just, it's Jax Taylor too disorder.
It was actually I can't believe I listened to that entire thing. At least I listened to it on almost double time, so it didn't take me the entire, like, time to listen to it. But he had me shaking with rage. I was just so
I I enjoyed watching Alex Baskin because he's sitting there like a therapist who's holding his tongue, just like he's just sitting there nodding along, validating
Mm.
him, like, oh yeah, wow. Like, this guy's seen it all. Alex Baskin has seen it all. But the way he sits there, you almost forget, like, yeah, this guy has been orchestrating this disaster since day one. He's just sitting, he's a
Mhm.
very reserved guy. If you're at a party,
Oh,
unless you
yeah.
have an eye for it, he'd be off to the side. But so it's cool. He's very reserved, but I'm sitting there like, this is the guy who created Jax Taylor. Well, I think my dealer's call. I mean, I think we need to go. No, I'm joking. I don't know what else there is. But you guys, of course, don't forget today,
There's nothing until Jax opens his mouth again.
till Jax goes back or Jax gets arrested or till Brittany loses it and tells all. Maybe she needs the book deal. That would be nice. Oh, on that note, we don't have book deals yet, but you know what we do have? We have a YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Blue Sky. Most importantly, the podcast itself. All you have to do is hit subscribe. And it's kind of like oh my God, our initials are PCP, which is a substance as well, besides Pretty Corrupt Podcast. So feel free to click subscribe, get hooked on that, and join us on this manic bipolar journey through reality TV. On that note,
Are you gonna sign us off?
cheers, darlings.